Salman Rushdie. Hindus are intolerant because they are giving a bad name to the Muslims trying to kill me, written by Sam Misha after losing freedom, family, and an eye to Islamist fanaticism. Salman Rushdie's critique of India exposes how elite echo chambers reshape priorities, redirect outrage, and transform survival instincts into the language of principle. For 36 years, Salman Rushdie has lived like a fugitive, perpetually on the run. The 1989 Iranian fatwa, which placed $1 million bounty on his head, forced the author into hiding for nearly a decade, living under constant British police protection at secret addresses. 4 of his marriages collapsed under the strain. Professionally, booking tours became impossible. Translations of the Satanic Verses, which Muslims claimed insulted Muhammad, were banned or burned in dozens of countries. Publishers faced boycotts and murderous attacks. Rushdie wrote under pseudonyms and lived with death threats that resurfaced repeatedly. In August 2022, at a bucolic retreat for thinkers in upstate New York, the author was stabbed 27 times by a radicalized Muslim, an attack that left him blind in one eye. And yet, despite a life shaped by the extremes of religious intolerance, Rushdie now directs much of his criticism toward Hindus in India. Despite not having visited India in years and drawing solely from conversations with his left-leaning friends, he claimed in a December 2025 Bloomberg interview, "There seems to be a desire to rewrite the history of the country, essentially to say Hindus are good, Muslims bad." Imagine that. Rushdie lost his freedom, family, and nearly his life to Muslim fanatics, and yet his primary concern is not freedom of speech but the image of Indian Muslims. That's a textbook case of spineless inversion of priorities. The outburst raises a difficult question. How can he rise to defend the Muslim community, which has not absolved him of his alleged guilt, and imply that Hindus, who have empathized with Rushdie during the entirety of his 4-decade ordeal, are intolerant? The tension between those positions is as paradoxical as Rushdie's own life story. To view Rushdie's remarks purely as hypocrisy is tempting. Indeed, many critics have seized on the irony. A man blinded by a Muslim attacker dedicating his renewed moral outrage to Hindu nationalism. But such a reading risks reducing Rushdie to a caricature, the victim turned hypocrite. Real life, as always, is messier. Satanic Verses, from literary stardom to enduring peril. Born in Mumbai in 1947, amid India's partition, Salman Rushdie emerged as a masterful chronicler of post-colonial identity. His early works, including the sci-fi Grimus, 1975, and the Booker Prize-winning Midnight's Children, 1981, blended magic realism with the complexities of migration, exile, and hybrid cultures. Fluent in English and Urdu, and a blend of atheism and inherited Islam, Rushdie positioned himself as a cosmopolitan voice challenging boundaries. The publication of the Satanic Verses in 1988 marked a turning point. This dreamlike novel, exploring migration, identity, and blasphemy through a fictionalized portrayal of Muhammad as Mahound, was seen by many Muslims as a profound insult to Islam. Protests erupted worldwide, from Bradford to Islamabad, involving book burnings, effigies, and riots that claimed many lives. India, under Rajiv Gandhi's Congress government, ever sensitive to its Muslim vote bank, swiftly banned the book to maintain public tranquility, a decision that deeply wounded Rushdie, who still viewed India as home. The crisis escalated on February 14, 1989, when Iran's Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini issued a fatwa. "I inform the proud Muslim people of the world that the author of the Satanic Verses book, which is against Islam, the Prophet, and the Quran, and all involved in its publication who were aware of its content, are sentenced to death." A bounty, eventually reaching $3.3 million, was friends in India. Everybody is extremely concerned with the attack on the freedoms of journalists, writers, intellectuals, professors, etc. He decried a desire to rewrite the history of the country, essentially to say Hindus good, Muslims bad, the thing versus Naipaul once called a wounded civilization, the idea that India is a Hindu civilization wounded by the arrival of Muslims. That project has a lot of energy behind it. Naipaul's 1977 polemic, An Area of Darkness, had lambasted India's wounded psyche under the yoke of Muslim and British rules, a view Rushdie now repurposes as a critique of Modi's Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, which swept to power in 2014 on a platform blending economic reform with Hindu revivalism. Modi, a former tea seller from Gujarat's hinterlands, has presided over India's ascent as the world's fifth largest economy. Yet his tenure draws fire from the so-called intellectuals. The author's alarm comes from spending too much time in India's leftist echo chamber. For Rushdie, raised in Bombay's elitist milieu and surrounded by Bollywood glamour, this evokes the emergency of Indira Gandhi, 1975-77, when press freedoms were throttled and opposition leaders were thrown into jail. Who stabbed you? Not Hindus, yet herein lies the paradox that has propelled Rushdie's words into a maelstrom. Just last year, in November 2024, the Modi government allowed the lifting of the 37-year import ban on the Satanic Verses. This cleared the path for booksellers in India to stock the novel, a quiet vindication for the author who had called the ban a betrayal. Congress, the party of Gandhi and Nehru, had imposed it to appease Islamist MPs like Syed Shahabuddin, who threatened unrest. Modi's administration, for all its Hindu majoritarianism, let it lapse without fanfare. This irony detonated on X, where Rushdie's interview clip unleashed a torrent of rebuke. Anand Ranganathan, professor and vocal Hindu nationalist, posted a video rebuttal. He was handed a death sentence by Muslims. He went into hiding for a decade. His books were banned. He was cancelled by his own. He lost his eye and nearly his life to a jihadi attack, and who does he blame? Modi and Hindus. Many echoed the sentiment. Sitting with an eye lost to Islamists, Salman Rushdie is worried about Hindu nationalists. He knows who to target to keep the other eye safe. First Post editor Utpal Kumar framed Rushdie's stance as duplicity. To watch Rushdie reprimand Hindu nationalism after surviving a near-fatal Islamist attack is, therefore, to witness a tragic spectacle. A man shaped by fear into criticizing the safest opponent available. It is not courage. It is self-preservation masquerading as principle. And it underscores a deeper truth about our intellectual climate, the willingness of cultural elites to condemn, even cut, the tree that never struck them while tiptoeing around the jungle that nearly swallowed one of their own. Rushdie's warning about Hindu nationalism may win him applause in left-liberal salons, but it is a misdirection that obscures the true, documented, blood-stained threat that has shadowed him for the past 36 years. No argument there. In contrast to the 45 Satanic Verses-linked murders, Rushdie's encounters with Hindu nationalism have been almost banal. In 2015, he went on Twitter to mock Hindus who supported Narendra Modi. Here come the Modi toadies. FYI, toadies. I support no Indian political party and oppose all attacks on free speech. Liberty is my only party. In response, social media users simply pointed out his hypocrisy, targeting the Hindu community that had supported him throughout his career while pussyfooting around the real threat to free speech posed by Muslim fundamentalists. Rushdie's tweet came after Shiv Sena party workers blackened the face of politician Sudhindra Kulkarni in Mumbai for organizing an event to launch a book by former Pakistan Foreign Minister Khurshid Khajuri. Read that again. Hindu nationalists used harmless dye to blacken the face of a rogue politician who was in cahoots with an Islamist minister from Pakistan. That's right, no stabbing, no eye gouging, no blood, no Allahu Akbar, just words. Rushdie's Modi obsession but oblivious to the irony of his stance. Rushdie doubled down and claimed Modi was curbing freedom in India. There are attacks on ordinary liberties, the ordinary right of assembly, the ordinary right to organize an event in which people can talk about books and ideas freely and without hostility. That seems to be in real grave danger in India today, he said from London. Earlier in 2014, during India's general elections, he said at the 10th annual PEN World Voices Festival in New York, "I am pretty concerned about a Modi-run government. The indications that it would be a fairly bullying government are already there. We have already seen journalists and writers being bullied, and the BJP has not taken power yet." Rushdie then joined a cabal of leftists, liberals, Muslims, and useful idiots from the West to jointly write an article that demonized Modi. Its moot point was, were he to be elected prime minister, it would bode ill for India's future as a country that cherishes the ideals of inclusion and protection for all its peoples and communities. When Salman Rushdie mocked Shiv Sena leader Bal Thackeray and caricatured Hindu figures in The Moor's Last Sigh, 1995, Hindu nationalists largely ignored the provocation. Thackeray himself brushed Rushdie aside as irrelevant, remarking that the book did not merit his attention and could be read, if at all, by his secretary. Utpal Kumar's op-ed dissected the easy targeting of Hindu nationalism. What makes Rushdie's commentary on India more revealing than the opinions he expresses is not merely what he chooses to say, but what he conspicuously avoids. Notably, he offers no sustained criticism of Islamic radicalism, the very force that has repeatedly sought to silence him through threats of violence and attempts on his life and that of his associates. Conditioned by his ideological echo chamber, Rushdie misreads contemporary India. Modi's India is not a theocracy. Its constitution explicitly enshrines secularism. Its courts continue to check executive overreach, as seen in the decision to overturn the ban on the Satanic Verses, and the vast majority of Hindus regard religious tolerance as essential, as documented by the Pew Research Center. Rushdie fails to register this reality because the India he invokes is the one he left behind, where Hindu society lacked an effective public voice, minorityism was entrenched, and political appeasement was routine. For those long accustomed to appeasement, the restoration of equal standards can easily be mistaken for intolerance. What is often described as Modi's Hindu majoritarianism is more accurately understood as a correction to decades, and in some respects, centuries of structural appeasement. The man is no hero. Rushdie claims he is an atheist like his father. And yet, as soon as the fatwa storm arrived, in February 1989, Rushdie expressed remorse with great alacrity, saying, "I profoundly regret the distress that publication has occasioned to sincere followers of Islam." In 1990, Rushdie again expressed remorse, saying he had embraced the Islamic faith. That's right, the atheist author offered to convert to Islam to save his skin. He also declared that he did not agree with the views expressed by characters in the novel, and opposed the book's publication in paperback. These lame attempts to suck up to the unyielding Islamists predictably did not work, with the Ayatollah declaring, "Even if he repents and becomes the most pious Muslim on earth, there will be no change in this divine decree." In 2016, 40 state-run media organizations in Iran pooled together to raise $600,000 to top up the bounty on the writer's head to $3.5 million. The fatwa is eternal and who knows, maybe generational. Wrapping up as a survivor, Rushdie commands sympathy. As a public intellectual, he commands attention. But as a truth-teller, he invites scrutiny. In the end, his selective outrage, rooted in living in a leftist echo chamber rather than direct confrontation with the ideology that has repeatedly sought his erasure, reveals not just inconsistency, but a form of intellectual dishonesty. While Hindu nationalism may polarize and provoke debate, it has never issued a fatwa, never stabbed him on stage, and, in a quiet irony Rushdie refuses to acknowledge, presided over the effective lifting of the ban on his most defining work. Rushdie's silences on the persistent dangers of radical Islamism speak louder than his words on India, underscoring a deeper malaise in elite discourse. The readiness to assail the safer adversary while tiptoeing around the one that draws real blood. In this inversion of threats and priorities, Rushdie diminishes his own legacy as a defender of unfettered expression, becoming instead a cautionary figure of fear disguised as principle.